Hey everybody, ChannelBK, thank you so much for tuning in. We're back. Year end. This is now, let's see, 20, 21, 22, 20. This is our fifth year end freaking what's on repeat. Doesn't feel
Oh
like
yeah.
long, but it's been long. It's been a long time. We've changed so much. So
Yep.
much. That's my host, Joshua Kirk. You already know the drill. This is what's on repeat. This is how I felt this entire year. I've just been so tired and exhausted. We actually are switching it up. We usually switch it up with the last episode. It kind of changes every year. We don't know how we want to do it. This year, we sort of came to an agreement. We're only going to talk about two albums each, four albums total, no singles. We're going to go back and forth from Josh's to mine, Josh's to mine. These are four albums we listened to as well. And Josh was very excited about the ones I brought to the table in terms of discussion. So I thought it would just be easier to do this. Um, so without further ado, Josh is already teasing the first album we're going to be talking about behind him, not Zach Bryan. That's been out. What about the other album?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's somebody that we've been talking about yeah, a little bit. I'd say especially as of like a couple of years ago, because we actually talked about her last record when that came out. Yeah, yeah, and we're kind of we're going in kind of the indie rock and pop and dream pop sort of territory for this album. It's the new Soccer Mommy album, Evergreen. Um, so uh, so yeah, her last record, Sometimes Forever, came out uh the summer of 2022, and was definitely a kind of interesting album, considering what we knew of her before. It was produced by Mr. Daniel Lopatin, aka One O Tricks Point Never, which that was kind of an odd pairing. Uh, but when the album actually came out and we actually had heard it, it turns out that it worked pretty well in terms of, I mean, it was still very much in that indie rock and dream pop wheelhouse, but in terms of just how it was put together, it sounded a little more unique, and yeah, it was a really solid album, and you and I both really liked it. And like as of that album, yeah, I would say I've been maybe a little more excited to listen to her work, because just kind of diving in into more interesting sounds and textures. And hearing this record, yeah, I would say that uh this is probably her best album so far in terms of uh it's kind of interesting how it feels like a little bit like her going back to what she was doing before her last record, but just kind of with more of the uh kind of different and sort of layered embellishes of what her last record was doing. And and yeah, I think in terms of the like the songwriting, the production, and like her vocals, she's really kind of leveled up in some really great ways on here. So Lost opens the album, and it's just this really like beautiful kind of uh enveloping ballad, and like yeah, and like her lyrics are very uh simple yet effective with the way she's like singing them. And then the song M follows it up, which I hadn't really heard the singles much. This was probably the one single that I had really actually listened to, and I and you'll I was like, this sounds pretty cool, and it has grown on me a lot since I listening to the album more, and yeah, I thought the lyrics on that uh, were really great, and yeah, there's like different sounds, like there's like a little like flute solo during the breakdown at the end, which was uh kind of interesting. And then Driver is like the first song that's kind of like in your face, and just the dynamics between like being kind of like uh raw during those verses, uh and then more just dreamy in the chorus, and the guitar solo that finishes it off is really solid. And that line where she says, my head is a highway all the time, like it's so funny how there's little like lyrics like this where um we kind of we kind of know that sentiment to be true, but it's not until we hear uh somebody like Soccer Mommy just like say it in song that we kind of are like, damn, that's so real. And oh yeah, and there's even I even got to hear a little bit of there's like a sped up version of the song online that oddly kind of uh, uh, goes kind of hard. Um and then from there, I think the record is just a really nice mix of uh there's some kind of sweeping slower tracks. Like I think Changes is legit one of the best Soccer Mommy songs in terms of just just like her writing, her vocals, the way it sounds, and the way that it kind of sort of like gradually progresses throughout and just sounds like uh and it just sounds incredible. And then like you'll get a couple of those kind of songs, and then you'll get a more in your face track like Abigail is probably my favorite single from the record, and I think it's really catchy. And then like learning that it's like a love song to the character from Stardew Valley, I'm like, yeah, that's such a neat idea for a kind of indie pop rock song that kind of has similar energy to like a Phoebe Bridgers Kyoto, or like a snail mail kind of thing. Salt and Wound is probably my favorite track on like second half of the album. She's kind of doing one of those like kind of riffy, like bam 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 kind of rock songs, and like I thought she pulled it off really well. And her vocals sound kind of haunting on here in kind of an interesting way. Yeah, and then probably the weirdest track on the album would have to be Anchor, the second to last song, like in terms of just kind of like the whole progression of that, and like her vocals, it kind of uh this song probably reminds me the most of like her last record, and I wasn't really expecting it, but I still dug it. And then the self-titled song Evergreen is like a really like beautiful, gorgeous, like a short kind of way to end the album. And it's kind of interesting how the album kind of has like two acoustic-y songs to like bookend, and like and second to last song is like the strangest, and then like the songs like in between kind of have a particular direction to them. Like I think the new Shoo Shoo record is kind of another record I'm thinking of that, genre wise it's different, but like in terms of how that album is kind of uh sequenced is kind of it's kind of interesting how these records have that similarity. And also in that I kind of feel like I guess my reaction to this record was probably a little like you listening to the Shushu record where it's an artist that maybe we're not like maybe we respect, but we're not like completely with, and yet listening to them in 2024, we're like, oh, that this record goes, and like, yeah, I kind of knew that Sophie had had an album like this in her, and that eventually she would, like have me go like, yeah, I really yeah, I really could get down with this, and yeah, that happened the weekend that this album came out. But yeah, if you have anything to add, like
Well, and it's
I'd
funny
be interested.
because my opinion on the album is very much just how I've always felt of Soccer Mommy. She's always been the one kind of in that group for the most part that I've liked the most just because I think her songwriting's been the most interesting and she works
Yeah,
well with the production that she has. This album reminded me a lot of like when Clario did her last album, not the one that came out this year, where it felt very like tight with like what she wanted it to sound like and where she wanted to go with it. But I liked it more in this sense. Um, you were saying the thing about how the earlier work was reminiscent. I think that way too. There was a lot of simplicity, like her first record, but her second record's kind of when she started branching out and kind of building that indie pop sound. Her third record really is kind of like it's not the sore thumb because it's definitely the album that stands out the most. I know a lot of people think that's like her best because that's kind of like a defining album for her, like with the collaboration and all that. But I thought this album was really good. It just, I put it on and it's, again, I think a lot of other artists could do this and I'd be like, yeah, this is not doing it for me. She does it well. Her voice works really well on it. And it has a nice, just kind of flow to it and it feels breezy. Like it just kind of goes and you don't want to stop it because I think the songs are really well done as well. Um, but
yeah,
I'm done trying to be sleepy. I need to get excited, trying to like shotgun a beer or something. I don't even drink. Japan Droids, Fade and Alcohol. That's my first album. Very different than the Soccer Mommy album. Let me tell you, Japan Droids is a Canadian duo, which sadly, this is their last album. It's kind of weird for them because they have not put out much work. Their most like well-known album is their 12 years ago, 2012 album, Celebration Rock, which is very much talked about by a lot of people as, it's an album that's hoorah rah and it's, upbeat and anthemic and, you go and you party and it's like big anthemic rock. And this is obviously a group that is not, they're not huge in what genre they make in that sphere. They don't do anything that's outside the box. They're not revolutionary. They're not game changing. They do exactly what they're supposed to do and exactly what they want to do. Brian on vocals. David also is on vocals as well, but he's the drummer. And they just make in your face party like rock music. Lily, I'm trying to record about Japan Droids. So
yeah,
this album being their last album, it's been 7 years now since their last album came out. 4 years since their live album, Massey fucking Hall, which is a pretty dope album. And it sounds like they've been kind of broken up since then. I was listening to David's interview on NPR, and it sounded like they've been kind of done for a while. Brian, they're not touring this album. Brian is sober now. He doesn't want to kind of be put in that position again to possibly relapse. He's apparently going to be a father too. So that's crazy. Um, this
yeah,
album breaks some stereotypes too of their albums. They usually put out 8-track, 35-minute albums. This is 10 tracks and 36. So time wise is not too different. Look, I know this is not for everybody just because it's kind of not simple, just it's not reinventing the wheel. I can see why people are like, it's not doing anything for me. Vocals aren't all that, whatever. But honestly, I love this album. It does exactly what their 2012 album does. It sprinkles in what their last album did a little bit with some of the songwriting and the sounds they do. I think the way this album opens with Eye Contact High with those, again, those buzzy guitars, Brian, his storytelling being out and kind of the party scene. And again, like his view on it all and his, reflecting of it. Again, this album is kind of a reflection of it as their final goodbye. We get to D&T, Drinking and Thinking, which I think is just it's just a catchy, fun tune. I love the way it goes into Alice. I love the build up on there. The debut single for this album was Chicago. I love again, just the structure of it is very different for them. Again, I love the buzzing guitars. I love the way it builds. The guitars kind of pull back and then just the lone drum in Chicago. I like that. That's really catchy. We get into some like very interesting stuff like upon sober reflection. I love the way it kind of cuts into different time signatures. Um, Positively 34th Street is very glistening. It's very upbeat and bright. And again, vocally and lyrically, it could come across as kind of like, and like, I don't know, I'm not necessarily like into this, but it works for me. Like, I think that's part of it, their charm too, is it's just they dedicate themselves to it. Um, and then All Bets Are Off is it's a very sad but very well done sort of final song on their album to sort of send them off into the distance. Um, there's really not much of this album that I need to break down or go into. I think it's just an album that I put on and it was just kind of an emotional ride having it be their last album again. They're not really a band that I think a lot of people listen to. And because of a lot of different factors, obviously they weren't the biggest band, but also the way they put out albums was very like elongated and it took them a while. And again, a lot of people kind of jumped on. I jumped on at that 2012 album as well. And they've only put out four albums and five, including the live album. And then they did like a B-sides of like older stuff. Um, if you're into that sort of kind of music, listen to it. Again, I'm not saying you're going to go in and be blown away. I would definitely say listen to Celebration Rock because that album's pretty awesome. But this album I like. I like a lot. I'm sad that I'm not going to see it live, but again, I get it. I never actually have seen the band live either, which is sad, but you move on, grow old, and things
Yeah,
and stuff. So,
yeah. So yeah, I definitely yeah, well, I could definitely see that. I kind of think my re relationship with the band is maybe a little more weird because yeah, I actually like have really only listened to their last record and
okay.
this one and I've heard like maybe bits of Celebration Rock that I feel like I've kind of sort of got an idea of who they are and
Exactly.
also kind of knew from the jump that like yeah, I could see why uh people who who love this kind of music like love them, but yeah, it's just not really yeah, I'm just not really connecting with it myself. I mean, there's definitely a few moments on the album where I was like, yeah, hell yeah, that rocks. But for the most part, I was kind of like, that this is definitely very much, you like, a, you just get what you expect, sort
Exactly.
of thing. Um, and yeah, that's kind of, why I guess, I don't. I don't dislike Japan Droids and I don't dislike this album. I'm just kind of like, indifferent, I think. Um that but I feel like our spread of albums is really interesting because we kind of have two albums in the indie rock vein, although two different kinds of
Mhm.
indie rock or pop really. And then these next two albums are both kind of hip hop records and two records that we sort of knew we were getting them at some point, but it's just a matter of like when they were announced and how they were kind of rolled out. That was kind of uh, maybe a little bit unexpected. And and I think they're both rappers that I think we hold in pretty high regard as like yeah, some of the like yeah, kind of best uh kind of people working in mainstream hip hop right now. I'm gonna start things off. I'm gonna start off talking about this record with a little quote from Bonita Smith. You are the light. It's not on you. It's in you. Don't you ever in your motherfucking life dim your light for nobody. Chromacobia, Chromacobia by Tyler, the Creator. Um, I don't think there's really anything you and I could really say about Tyler that we haven't already said, like either on this channel or like just in our conversations. He's been on a run lately with these last few albums, and this one, I know we had a little conversation after shooting the last What's on Repeat about like this year's been great in terms of the music that's come out, but rap strangely kind of um there's been some really good albums in that genre this year, but like maybe a little less on our lists than I think people would usually expect, probably. And we were just kind of like, is there going to be any more big rap records? And then a little after that, this album um got announced. Noid was the lead single, and I'll just say right off the bat, I love that song. I think, according to you and I, it's one of the best rap singles of the year.
Mhm.
And but it was kind of an unusual choice for the single because even Earthquake, which I still think is a fantastic song, and it definitely is really unique. But like, I definitely would not consider it like experimental like this. I mean, there's songs on Igor that are definitely kind of weird and dark, but like Earthquake was just a really great, beautiful kind of like R&B ballad, and then this it is like dark. It has different movements to it. Uh,
I was gonna say it
yeah,
feels like him doing what he started doing, but like mature. And like it reminds me of the opening off of Cherry Bomb, but like more refined, and it has more like depth and like you said, like there's more structure to it. That's what I took from it was I was like, okay, this is kind of a throwback, but it's not because this is not what it he used to sound like then, you know? Like it's very much topically there's some Flower Boy stuff in there, like in
yep,
with him and Fame and but then sonically it kind of has that like when he was trying to do like the Death Grip stuff on Cherry Bomb, but also like his early like horrorcore stuff. Like that's what it reminded me, like that old Odd Future synthy sound, but with the brashness, but more nicer put together.
yep. Oh yeah. I definitely could see where you're coming from with that. And yeah, I just think hearing this song, what I thought of was this sounds like um the Sonics of Igor, but with the more kind of like rap focused approach
Okay.
of a Call Me If You Get Lost. Yeah, that's what I got. And that kind of got me thinking, oh, this, it seems like this is probably what the album's gonna be. And hearing it, I definitely heard more kind of Flower Boy stuff in it than I anticipated. I mean not just with the writing, but like some of the synths on here like definitely very much have that vibe. So the culmination I think is really cool, and also there's definitely enough kind of unique new things going into this album. Like I mentioned, Juanita Smith, that would be Tyler's mother doing all the like dialogue narration for the record. It reminds me of like Gerard, Jared Carmichael doing all the like dialogue stuff on
Yeah.
Igor, and that like worked really well in just sort of, kind of putting that sort of relationship and the different like layers of it into context throughout the album. Similarly here, we kind of have a record that's sort of Tyler reflecting on his past and kind of how he kind of uh, and how he kind of uh, is sees himself now, and kind of things he like learned during his youth that like still impact him to this day. And uh, and like it's clearly a very personal record for Tyler. Like Hey Jane is definitely a very like just introspective song in terms of how he's kind of rapping from both the perspective of like him and his partner is like, yeah, I think really fascinating, and it kind of uh puts some of these albums themes into perspective. I think the song right before that, Darling I, is great. Like I really like his singing. I really like the instrumental, has a kind of like smooth R&B vibe, but like with that Tyler twist, and like uh and Tizo Touchdown, like it was funny listening to this record when it had come out, the features weren't listed yet. So like yeah, I really only recognized certain other people who were on it, and Tizo was definitely the one where I was like, yeah, you don't have to tell me like he's on here, and he just sounds fantastic. And so and like Lil Wayne is another person that I
Hmm.
definitely recognize from the jump. Which uh the song that he's on, Sticky, like it's kind of interesting how this song came from. Um, I kind of went from a song that I was a little on when I first heard it, but like the more I've been sitting on it, and like it even made its way into uh my Spotify Wrapped, just like the one top 100 songs, even though this album didn't album came out like right at the end of October pretty much, and that's kind of when these streaming services stop the tracking king of your listening. But like I don't know what it is about this song. Like just it's like it's so in your face and hypnotizing, and like I think Glorilla, Sexy Red, and Lil Wayne all just like go off over top of that beat, which is just so like raw, like, and the way the drums are just like boom, boom,
Hmm.
boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it's crazy. Take Your Mask Off, I think is I think is a really great song. Daniel Caesar is on there. And I think he really like uh I think he really kills it. with his vocals on here. He's on the opener as well, and sounds really good on there. And I think with the writing and uh, Tyler's verses, I think this is another point that really kind of uh, puts this album's like themes and concept into perspective. But now I want to talk about these last three songs. Like him, dude. I think this is probably my favorite song from the album besides Noid. I just think his singing on here, I think is like incredible and maybe even some of the best singing he's like had on record. Yeah, just the passion and the soul going into this track. And yeah, I think I love the pianos, I love the synths, and like that little bit of dialogue at the end from Tyler's mother is like genuinely heart-wrenching. Um and like Balloon is a song that's really kind of uh grown on me a bit. Like lately, like that Dochi feature is pretty wild. And like yeah, and
I
just
air this
like
bitch out like a queef.
oh yeah, exactly. Like I was like, oh yeah, like I'm getting almost like Mannequin Pussy vibes, not like musically, but like in terms of just like the combination of just kind of like rage and sort of outright horniness, like kind of it's a similar kind of energy. And then I hope you find your way home. I think is uh legit one of the best closers he's had to a record. And Gerd, I love the way that it builds with the instrumentation, the vocals, and vocals, and I think the verse is really solid. And then we hear Tyler's mother just telling him how proud she is of him. Yeah, and it's like a very powerful moment. And that little synth drop right at the end is just chef's kiss. So good. Um, and yeah, this album's great. Like I think I do agree with you that it is kind of the weakest album out of this like current run in this like post Cherry Bomb phase of his career, but like yeah, but it's still like I think very well put together, and there's a lot of very interesting uh emotional stuff on here, and like it's kind of nice to see Tyler make an album like this where because like his last three records like were critically acclaimed. They did really well commercially, and now Tyler's just kind of like fuck it. I'm just gonna do like whatever I want, just make this kind of album that has a lot going on, but it still like has a very interesting like there's different like writing techniques on here and sort of subject matter that uh he hasn't really been diving into as much. And yeah, I think it makes for a very intriguing album, and definitely one of the definitely one of the best rap albums of the year. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like the album's all over the place. That's fine. It's in the name, right? Like it's basically
Yeah.
just kind of everything on the wall, whatever is there.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I didn't remember how much I said to you about the album because I felt like this was one that was going to be the more unique talk because I was telling Josh, I think, and again, I obviously there's no way to say it properly without me saying how I say it, but I think every album since Flower Boy, that's my favorite of his, and I think every album's been less and less. That doesn't mean they're
Yeah.
terrible. Obviously, again, that's it's a hard way to put it because I still love Igor and Call Me If You Get Lost. This is not an album that I'm really so like I think this is one of those from afar. I love it and I rock with everything that's going on. But then once I get into listening to it, the more I'm just kind of like, okay, Like it's fine to me. Like I still overall I really really like it. I still think it's really good. In terms of an album that of his that I re-listened to, it just kind of there's just a weird connection I have to this album. And I don't know if it was just I don't know if it was an expectation thing because this is the longest it's been since he's put out an album. It's been almost 4 years. Well, it's been
Yeah.
3.5 years, right? And to me, it's like the album feels like it's a hot mess, like Cherry Bomb. But then the idea of the album is I want to just do my last three albums have been lush, colorful, well produced, mature. My very
Yeah.
first three albums, well, I guess two because Bastard is a mixtape, but then let's
Yeah.
bring obnoxiousness, raunchiness, loud, boom bap, not boom bap. I guess just like loud aesthetics, that kind of, sound and that old school Odd Future flavor into it. And just be like, this is one of those, I mean, it's kind of redundant, annoying point and corny to say, but this is kind of this is me. This is Tyler the Creator, right? And I mean, I feel like as that, I think it's good, but when it comes to other things I go with Tyler, like Ratata, I think is great. Noid, I agree with you. Hey Jane, I Killed You, Sticky, Thought I Was Dead was great. I wish Schoolboy had a longer verse. I love when Schoolboy is on a Tyler album. I think he's great.
Sure.
Um, but it's one of those things where overall, I think if I were to put the album on, there's a lot going for it, but it's not an album that I necessarily, when I think of Tyler, I think of it as much. Like his other albums to me are so much more like there's something more to grab into. This was an album that, because like it's not like it's super weird, but it's just I'm not gravitating as much
Yeah.
unlike his previous three albums. Um, but it's not like a divisive album. Like it doesn't feel like it's so like I feel like he's put out more divisive albums in the past. But it just feels like he's like, look, I'm able to put out like something that's grand and like this is me and this is where I want to keep going. And he does it well. And he does some poppy stuff on here too that I think works off. And like you said, I think his singing on here is really interesting too. Um,
Oh yeah, and I'll say like the album of Tyler's I think I've gone back to the most consistently is Igor. Like
okay.
Flower Boy, I definitely am with you. That's my favorite of his, but I guess like but that album even uh compared to Igor is kind of that album is kind of like big and grand and dense, and
Mhm.
Igor is kind of feels more like Tyler in your face in terms of like the production and I think in terms of the way that story was delivered, there's maybe not quite as much you have to really pick apart with Igor, and that's kind of why it's the one I listen to the most. And Call Me If You Get Lost, I think over time has really like grown on me a lot, and I think that whole like estate sale little like bonus track thing we got
Mhm.
uh with the album last year really kind of helped it solidify as like an album that I would put like solidly up there with Flower Boy and Igor. And this record's definitely more kind of all over the place and kind of uh there's a lot going on and it's maybe not quite as good, but like but it is still, I think, for what it is, really well put together. And the more time I've spent with it, the more I've really come to appreciate it for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, it kind of just feels like the opposite of Cherry Bomb. It's a mess, but it's better. And Cherry Bomb was just, I'm so happy. This album feels like even though there's some sad stuff on here, it feels like he's content. Like he doesn't feel happy or sad. He's just like, I am where I am now, and we're gonna keep going, right? Um, but
Right.
let me tell you, it was Code Red weeks ago. Code Red. I'm messaging Josh. Josh, it's happening. I've been wanting it. I've been talking about it. It's finally happened. Tyler had like a week and a half. Kendrick said, fuck that. Let's just go. GNX, Kendrick Lamar. We're going to get into it. I'm not going to sit here and dwell on a lot of things because I feel like, again, it's redundant. First off, we have a rank 'em. Go check it out because I think a lot of
Yeah.
things that you would want us to hear is in that. I'll just keep it short. Josh and we're in the minority on Mr. Morale. People either
Yes.
really love it, really respect it, or they really think it's really good. Him and for different reasons, it's not bad. It's not shit or anything, but it's not amazing to us. We know
Yeah,
what,
yeah. I don't know. I've talked to other people who seem to share that sentiment,
yeah. I
so
feel
I
like the
get
general consensus, though, is like people, I think I told you this. I think as a book, this album would have been amazing. But musically, I can't get with a lot of the stuff. But I think it's that weird thing of like the topics on it. People don't want to like say it is or isn't good. Like I said, I just think musically the album it was kind of meh to me. After that, it's been wild. He's been doing stuff with, his cousin, Baby Keem. We got that great Hillbilly song. And then again, we're not going to go into it, but the beef with Drake had the world on fire. Some of the best songs, some of the best diss songs to come out.
yeah.
And then after that, it was like, okay, we got that Instagram, watch the party die. What's happening? Super Bowl. Oh my gosh. At this point, it was just when is it going to come? I go on Twitter, I see the teaser, and I'm like, oh my God, is this a new? Oh no, it's an album. It's an album. It's an album. It's an album. Oh my God. I'm like, fuck it, let's go. Here's the thing, and this is my general review and my observation of why I think this is his second best album behind To Pimp a Butterfly. Spoiler for the Rankum.
Yeah, yeah. Strong agree on
Let
that for
me
sure.
tell you, first listen, I came away from it and I said, that was interesting. I don't know how I feel. Kendrick does that. But I was like, I didn't know what to think because this album is unlike anything he's done. Now, am I just being, a dick rider? No, because what I mean by this, second, third listen, no, actually, second listen, I said, yeah, I love this. This is the first album where I think Kendrick is finally putting out something. Like, there's that tweet that went viral that I think is so stupid about he makes protest music. This is not that. This is the first time that I think Kendrick has just put out an album. He's talking about his influences. He's talking about his craft. He's talking about, loving where he's come from. He's being braggadocious. He's being introspective. He's being funny. He's being cocky. He's having fun. He's being catchy. It feels like this
Buster!
is. Oh, Squints agrees with me. He made some weird noise. He agrees. This album is, I think, what Damn is, but without all of the stuff Damn is doing. Because Damn is still a depressing album. It's a poppy mainstream album that's still depressing. there's sad stuff on here, and it's not like the whole album's like happy go lucky,
No.
but this is I don't really know what else to think of this album because I really genuinely I think like the intro is amazing because you're listening and you're like, "Oh, this is like the we're going to go off on some shit." But it's not even like this whole lyrical crazy thing. He's just like, y'all need to understand. So I'm just going to say it as simple as we can. And then Squabble Up comes on, and we all got so excited at the intro because we said, "Oh my God, we're actually getting a song from the Not Like Us snippet. Oh my God, it's real. It's real. Feel good. Get the fuck out my face." Like, I'm like, okay, Luther I think is one of the best poppy R&B songs he's ever done. It sounds amazing. I think when him and SZA harmonize,
Oh my God.
oh my God, it's so good. Like, and then Man at the Garden, I love the minimal beat and like
Boom, boom, boom,
love how
boom.
emotional it is. And it's like cocky, but it's like so self-reaffirming. Hey Now, I'm gonna hot take is probably the only song that like if I were to rate every song, it'd probably be like my least favorite, but it's not bad. It's not even just okay. I think it's really good. I love the don't the dark beat, his schizophrenic rapping, like the darkness in that. It's just one, it's the only song on here that for whatever reason, like I don't go to just on its own, but I don't hate it. Like, and I know everyone's gonna hate me now. You hate Hey Now? Say Now? What the hell? It's still good.
Yeah, yeah.
Reincarnated.
That being said,
Yes.
it is my favorite song from the album, and I have been going back to it a
Fucking
lot.
hell, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
Um,
But yeah, like I love the beat and you know that Dodie six verse was like cold as hell. So
mhm.
yeah, I
I
love
love
it.
all the features he got on here too. A lot of local guys from, out west. I love that. Reincarnated is a Kendrick Lamar song. Like it's in the Garden, Man of the Garden. Like that song is a Kendrick Lamar at the Garden. That's a Kendrick Lamar song, but reincarnated like storytelling wise, structurally, even like the Tupac sample. It's this is a like no like this is a Kendrick Lamar song. It's fantastic. TV off. I mean, I think that's what Josh was doing
Bum bum
earlier
bum
with the mustache.
bum bum bum
Iconic.
bum
It's
bum. I love that beat.
the switch up is great. It's again, this is the only song I feel bad I
Oh
won't.
man, that I
Yes,
mean the whole padlock interference double entendre. That was genius right there.
like this song is just in your face and so West Coast. And then we get Dodger Blue, which once again it came on and I went, I don't know if I'm gonna like this because again, yes, this is the white boy in me. This is when I'm like, okay, these are I dig Dodger Blue. I love the hook. I don't know. Is it I don't know if Roddy Ricch is the one on the hook when he's like, I get
Yeah,
fly, bitch. I don't know if that's Roddy or if
I'll
it's one of
say
the other two.
there's three people on the hook.
Yeah, because I don't know. Okay, so it's
Wally the Sensei.
okay.
Yeah, and I don't know how to pronounce that other guy's
Is
name,
it
but yeah.
Siete
So,
7X? Because I think it's
oh yeah, but that hook like so fly in this bitch, 50 on me, don't try it and
like
shit.
it's
Oh yeah, so
vibey,
smooth.
and I don't really like songs like this, and especially when it's Kendrick, I'm like, okay, but it works. And I even think his like slow kind of sing rapping, it works. I'm like, look at him go. Like, okay. And
Bitch
then
up on the land.
Blue, which is like just a funny West Coast song. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, when I first heard it, I'm like, oh God, what the hell? It grew on me. What they talking about? They talk about no, what they talk about, they talk about no, what they talk about, they talk about no. I can't even say it. It's so quick. I can't
Hey,
even
hey,
say
hey,
it
hey,
that
hey,
right.
hey,
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 that's
hey.
my
That's
bitch.
my bitch. Hey, hey, hey. So stupid, but I love it. Um, Part six, which is a nice little shot there. Beautiful. Heartbreaking too. Like his storytelling about Black Hippie and why it never went to where it did, and him talking about Ab Soul and Schoolboy and J. Incredible. I love the beat. GNX, once again, people are gonna probably think I'm an idiot. I kind of like GNX. I like just how
Oh yeah, yeah. You,
like
you 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 know what I tell those people? GNX is freaking awesome.
I
Like,
love how just off kilter the beat is. And I think Kendrick sounds stupid on it. And I love it. That I just and they're tripping and I'm loving it. Like, wow. It's so
wow.
like they like again, when those Baby Keem songs were coming out and we were like, what the hell is he doing? I think now I'm at the point where I'm like, some of that's grown on me, but like these songs, I'm like, okay, Kendrick. And then Gloria. Oh, the beat, SZA, the storytelling, just the way, the fact that this album ends with him talking about his craft. Oh, and I completely fucking forgot, like the thing that ties it all together. I don't know. I think she works with the LA Dodgers. She's the mariachi singer, and she's interlaced throughout
Yeah,
the
yeah.
album. She's on Reincarnated, she's on the opening. She kind of
And
ties
she's at the
in
end of.
that kind of West Coast feel as well, which I think is a really
Oh
nice.
yeah, and dropping in a reference to the second reference to Anita Baker. The first one is on the opener because he says riding in GNX with Anita Baker in the tape
Tape deck.
deck.
Mhm.
And I think like I don't know how to pronounce her name, but it's like Dara uh Barrera, and I thought it was cool. I heard how like the production team would like play some of it for her to kind of yeah, and they wanted her to get an idea. So when she wrote those parts, she could kind of, work off of what Kendrick is doing. And yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, it's just a little like piece of the album, and yet it's so like just like impactful for sure.
It's like I feel like we have not gotten a project like this since mixtape days, like over for like 14 years ago. It's like we start with Section 80, then we're talking about inner city black kids, then we're just talking about black people in general, then we're talking about, oh, I fucked up, I'm the problem, then we're talking about fucking black man trauma. And after all this, it's like finally Kendrick has an album. And it's like this album to me is so fascinating because it's going to be so. I think now that everything has settled and he's finally been able to put out something like this, it's going to be so nice now for him to just move forward because this album, again, talks about a lot, says a lot. It's not like Kendrick Lamar has, it's not like even when he makes other kinds of music, he's not talented or interesting or innovative or whatever. But it's finally an album where it's like by the end of it, you're just like, this is so, it's wonderful. Mr. Morale, you want to die. Damn, you feel like shit. To Pimp a Butterfly, you end and your heart drops. You're like, huh? The Good Kid, Mad City is probably the closest where it's like at the end, you're like, you hear Compton playing and you're like, okay, bet. This album is just, it's phenomenal. Like I said, To Pimp a Butterfly is always going to be my favorite album of his. I think that album is just so above and beyond. This
Yes.
album is nicely put at second. It does some of the best things he's ever done. He's still pushing the envelope. It's like it reminds me of when Christopher Nolan did Oppenheimer. It's like it's something he's known to do, but he's still it's like this is defining of a movie for me, but I'm also going to still show you how good I am and just what I want to keep doing and how I can innovate. This is the same thing here. And now that he's
Yeah.
off TDE, this is a solely PG Lang thing. The music videos he's putting
Yep.
out, it's like I'm so
The
excited
Squabble Up video is
for
dope.
adult Kendrick Lamar. Not, I mean, he's always been an adult, but I mean, like for him
Yeah.
to finally be like, I can finally, he got off the beef and he said, I gotta lock the fuck in the studio, man. So I'm done going on and on.
Oh
You can
yeah.
go on and on if you need to now.
Oh yeah, because I think like one thing I want to say is I don't think it's overly controversial to say that this is maybe the best album that like Jack Antonoff has like ever been involved in.
Hmm.
Yeah, like the fact that it's like better than like a Lord record, a Lana record, and definitely better than that lame ass Bleachers record that I, for whatever reason, had to talk about uh beginning of the year. But so like now that I've heard this record, I'm kind of like, okay, Jack, I forgive you for like some of those records you made that were kind of like when you're now on like yeah an album with Kendrick and like it also I think kind of helps that like it's not just him producing, like there's actually other people in there who are
Yeah.
kind of maybe helping him clean up whatever kind of like uh shortcomings may
Because
come with
obviously
his
Mustard,
production.
obviously, spoiler because Kendrick's
Sound
his goddamn name on the album. Mustard's involved. Soundwave,
sound
who is a top dog in-house producer, he of course shows up because Soundwave's always around. Um,
oh yeah, and there's
Part of
people
it.
like I'm other people I can think of is like yeah, Bridgeway, Sean Momberger, DJ Dahi, he's
Oh
on the
yes.
opener, and then like Kamasi Washington shows up on a couple of tracks like MTech and hell like even Kendrick himself is actually credited as a producer on some songs. So it's kind of proof that um so it yeah, that really is proof of yeah, there's an impressive team and like annual the touches that Antonov kind of brings are like, like the classical guitar on this album just sounds like genuinely gorgeous and I think, it's just it's kind of it's more like just an interesting texture like more than anything because and I genuinely felt that like every mix and sound on this record was like near perfect. And then like also in terms of like when the album actually came out, like I feel like it even though it dropped so suddenly, it definitely came out at just the right time. Uh Not just because of like, all the bullshit we've been dealing with this year, but also like but kind of like where I'm at in my life, like is kind of similar to where like Kendrick is. Like the last song, Gloria, I think really struck a chord with me because uh because I see a lot of parallel in like like his relationship to writing is kind of like my relationship to like reviewing music because I've been doing this like a long time and it's really only like in 2024 that I actually started like really like writing reviews and I'll say I did write a 6 paragraph review for this album and put it on my website and I would say it's maybe the most fun I've had doing a review writing a review this year in terms of I would spend a work session like on just one song from the album, uh, which, kind of means more work, but I think ultimately that is kind of that is kind of what you got to do with Kendrick. You got to really put in the work and like decode some of the little like nuances in the lyrics. And I think like even with this being his most vibe focused record, I think that's kind of like I think it was really worth it to do and I think it was definitely worth it to just kind of do that extra work. And yeah, I think uh Gloria definitely is a perfect way to like cap off this album and kind of uh like this feels like and yeah, like you said, this feels like Kendrick like finally at peace with himself and just making the kind of music he wants to make. Like it's kind of the most fun album he's done since Good Kid, Mad City. But even that project is like complicated and like still got a lot going on. Uh, and like, To Pimp a Butterfly is obviously very dense and like I kind of think Good Kid is kind of the middle ground of like it's got kind of the density of T-Pab, but
Yeah.
it's still like fun to listen to like GNX's. And uh, yeah, incredible record and yeah, best rap album of the year for sure.
Listen,
I,
yeah, it's nice that we can end the year on albums that, we actually have a lot to say. I mean, we always have a lot to say, but it's nice when like it's shocking when like the end of the year it's like, oh my God, these albums. And Kendrick, you sneaky little shit, you little bastard, you. You were
eh,
just waiting, and then look at us here. And hopefully, I can watch Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl. That's what I want. Because now it has to happen. Because why? Why? Even the shot
yeah,
he
I
took
don't think
in the promotion for the Super Bowl, it's like, come on, man. I guess I shouldn't say
I can't
Super
remember
Bowl.
the
The
last
NFL will
time
sue us. The big game. The big game.
I can't remember. I can't remember the last time I've been that excited about a halftime show performer, really.
It's
Yeah.
going to be interesting because you kind of know certain songs he's gonna do, but you're hoping like, okay, he he's gonna have like 13-ish minutes, and you would hope that he's gonna at least try to kind of squeeze in what we want, and then we're gonna get probably like, like a humble. We may get
And
all
all
right.
right.
Well, he did all right a few years ago when it was with all of them, but so hopefully he doesn't do that again. Maybe just leave that one out for now. Um, but we'll
Oh
see.
yeah, I know we want him to do like not like us, because that's easily like yeah, in terms of just like rap song or single of the year, yeah, that's the one this year for sure.
And it's not even on here, and it doesn't even matter. So, um,
Oh yeah, I kind of appreciate those three diss tracks as kind of their own little like own little thing for sure.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know if you can technically put it on wax and sell them. I'd own a 7-inch or 10-inch of them. Kendrick, do it. Come
Oh
on.
yeah.
But
Oh yep.
are you in similar fashion with us? Obviously, Tyler and Kendrick were the two big ones, but do you share the Japan droids or soccer mommy opinions that we do as well? Leave it all in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Check out Josh's stuff, his website. I don't know when this will be going up, but it will probably be going up before my lists. I'm going to be
Oh
having,
yeah, that's what
I'm
I
only
would
going to
hope.
have 4 this year. The fourth one is movies. That'll be in a few months once a lot of the movies come here. We got concerts, then singles, then albums. And this lucky son of a bitch got to see my top 10 singles and albums, and I got to see his. So, ha, we know him before you guys, gals, everyone. Ha.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yeah.
check that out because Josh, I know, is going to do his own videos as well, his year-end list. So you should definitely
Yep.
check this.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
well, okay. I hope you all had a good 2024. Year five is
Yep.
done on What's on Repeat. And we're gonna come back next year. We're gonna keep having fun, and hopefully we got some fun new albums to listen to. So until next time, thank
Yep.
you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in. This is me. That's Josh. Peace out, everyone.